Economy 3.1 Central Bank Digital Currency. Why in news? Recently, RBI has recently launched a pilot project on Central Bank Digital Currency (CBDC) and also issued a concept note on CBDC. More on news. The purpose of the concept note is to create awareness about CBDCs in general and the planned features of the digital rupee, in particular. It explains the objectives, choices, benefits and risks of issuing a CBDC in India, referred to as a rupee digital rupee. It called for the amendment of the Reserve Bank of India (RBI) Act, 1934 to include digital rupee in the definition of the term bank note. Digital rupee is proposed by concept note. As per the concept note, the design of the digital rupee will be decided based on the circumstances and needs so that it is compatible with the goals of financial and monetary stability. Accordingly, two forms of CBDCs may be introduced. CBDC Retail, potentially available for use by all private sector, non-financial consumers and businesses. CBDC Wholesale, designed for restricted access by financial institutions. E-rupee can be structured as token-based or account-based. Token-based CBDC is a bearer instrument like banknotes. Whosoever holds the tokens at a given point in time would be presumed to own them. Account-based system would require maintenance of record of balances and transactions of all holders of the CBDC. A principle of managed anonymity may be followed, i.e., anonymity for small value and traceable for high value, akin to anonymity associated with physical cash. CBDC in India would be based on the two-tier, indirect model. See infographic for details. CBDC would be non-remunerative, i.e. non-interest bearing. About Central Bank Digital Currency (CBDC). RBI defines CBDC as the legal tender issued by a central bank in a digital form. It is pegged to the value of that country's fiat currency and adds digital form to existing physical form of banknote. Finance Bill 2022. About the pilot project, 9 prominent banks have been identified for participation in the pilot project. These are State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Union Bank of India, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Yes Bank, IDFC First Bank and HSBC. In the pilot phase, RBI will issue the digital currency to each bank's CBDC account at regular intervals for the settlement of the government securities. 23 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Under the RBI Act 1934, RBI has the sole right to issue bank notes in India. Only coins, under the Coinage Act 2011 and 1 rupee note are issued by central government. Key concepts related to money. Money is a broader term that refers to an intangible system of value that makes the exchange of goods and services possible, now and in the future. Currency, it is a tangible form of money and is a medium of exchange for goods and services. It's money, in the physical or digital form. Legal tender, it is a currency that is declared legal by the government and used for payment of the debt. All currency notes, coins and now CBDC are legal tender in India. Fiat currency, it is a form of currency that is declared a legal tender and therefore includes all type of currency in circulation. It is backed by a country's government instead of a physical commodity like gold or any financial instruments like check. Therefore has no intrinsic value. It differs from commodity money, representative money as well as cryptocurrency. Commodity money has intrinsic money and is derived from a material like gold or silver. Representative money is backed by a physical commodity and issued by the government, like checks and credit cards. Cryptocurrency is free of central authority and backed by blockchain technology. Rationale for introducing CBDC in India. Reduction in cost associated with physical cash management. Significant cost is incurred on printing money in India, more than 4,900 crore rupees in 2020-21. Apart from this, there is environmental, social, and governance (ESG) cost associated with the currency management. CBDC reduces operational costs, i.e. costs related to printing, storage, transportation etc. To further the cause of digitization to achieve a less cash economy, CBDC shall further the cause of digital payment, given its ease of usage coupled with sovereign guarantee. Supporting competition, efficiency and innovation in payments, CBDC could enhance resilience in payments, and diversify the range of payment options. Or for example, CBDCs can facilitate smooth implementation of smart contracts for direct cash transfer to the farmers in India, thereby ensuring transparency. Smart contracts are blockchain-based computer protocol for execution of certain actions based on predetermined conditions. To explore the use of CBDC for improvement in cross-border transactions, CBDCs can make cross-border transactions instantaneous and help overcome key challenges relating to time zone, exchange rate differences as well as regulatory requirements across jurisdictions. Support financial inclusion. Attributes of a CBDC like offline functionality, universal access devices, compatibility across multiple devices etc. shall make financial services more accessible to the unbanked and underbanked population and in remote regions. CBDC's global scenario. As per Bank for International Settlements BIST survey, 90% of central banks are engaged in some form of CBDC work. Some countries have launched a CBDC. First was the Bahamian Sand Dollar in 2020 and the latest was Jamaica's JAM-DEX. For many other countries, including major economies like China and South Korea, are in the pilot stage and preparing for possible launches. China aims for widespread domestic use of the eCNY by 2023. 24 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Safeguard the trust of the common man in the national currency vis-a-vis proliferation of crypto assets. The unabated use of crypto assets can be a threat to the monetary policy objectives as it may lead to creation of a parallel economy. Also, the volatility of cryptocurrency makes it an unreliable payment option with potential to be misused by non-state actors. CBDC could fulfill demand for secured and stable digital currency as it is backed by the central bank. What CBDC is not? CBDC is not mobile money. CBDC is different from the all other existing digital payment systems like UPI and other payment wallets, card payments and electronic fund transfers. Mobile money CBDC, it is only a type of payment transaction. It is a new payment instrument. It is the liability of commercial banks and other authorized financial institutions. It is the direct liability of the central bank as it is the primary issuer of the currency. Mobile wallets are subject to Know Your Customer (KYC) age limitations, where some age groups are restricted from creating wallets. CBDC are created to be universally accessible nationally. Mobile money requires the presence of intermediary issuing and acquiring banks, financial institutions, or payment service providers (PSPs) to authorize and validate the payments. It is a peer-to-peer payment mechanism between senders and receivers and eliminates the need for interbank settlement. Potential challenges in adopting digital currencies in India. Cyber hacks and threats. CBDC ecosystems may be at similar risk for cyber attacks as the current payment systems are exposed to. Further, with lower financial literacy levels, the increase in digital payment-related frauds may also spread to CBDCs. Threat to privacy. Anonymity is one of the key traits of cash, and the rise of digital payments threatens the lawful or legitimate preference for anonymity as they leave digital trails. Impact on monetary policy. The high adoption of CBDC within a country's financial system could create unnecessary instability in the economy without proper measures. Technology preparedness. Lower level of technology adoption may limit the reach of CBDCs and add to existing inequalities in terms of accessing financial products and services. Also, a large elderly educated population is not comfortable with digital banking. Impact on bank credit availability. With popularity of CBDCs, people may begin withdrawing money from their bank accounts. With reduced disintermediation of banks, their ability for credit creation gets constrained, leading to an increase in cost of credit. Currency substitution through cross-border transactions. Without proper international collaboration and common framework or standards, the ability of policymakers to track cross-border flows will be limited. Way ahead. Robust regulatory framework before adopting this technology and keeping it flexible to incorporate dynamic learning in design of CBDC. 25 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Protecting financial markets by addressing the implications of CBDC and other growing digital assets with focus on consumers, investors, and business interests. Ensuring high standards of cybersecurity and parallel efforts on financial literacy is essential for dealing with CBDC. Ensuring compliance to AML CFT, a CBDC payment system would need to be compliant with anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism, AML and CFT regulations and requirements. Assuring privacy, it will be essential to consider the way the privacy is respected and the data is protected in a CBDC system. Following BIS principles, design choices must be finalized keeping in mind the foundational principles issued by the Bank for International Settlements BIS to be considered by central banks while issuing a CBDC. 3.2. INTERNATIONALIZATION of rupee. Why in news? Recently, the central government has made changes to the Foreign Trade Policy (FTP) to allow for rupee settlement of international trade for export promotion schemes. More about news. The changes imply that the incentives and fulfillment of export obligation under the FTP can be extended to export payments made in Indian rupees. These changes have been notified for imports, exports, export performance for recognition as status holders, Advance Authorization Scheme and Duty-Free Import Authorization Schemes, and Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme. Government has highlighted that this was done in the light of rising interest in internationalization of Indian rupee. 26 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. RBI Guidelines on International Trade Settlement. It's in Indian rupees. Exports and imports under invoicing arrangement may be denominated and invoiced in rupee, while exchange rate between currencies of two trading partner countries may be market determined. Exporters and importers can now use a special Vostro accounts linked to correspondent bank of partner country for receipts and payments denominated in rupees subject to Foreign Exchange Management Act, 1999. Also, bank guarantee, setting of export receivables, advance against exports, use of surplus balance, approval process, documentation, etc. Related aspects would be covered under FEMA rules. About international currency and internationalization of rupee. The Tarapur Committee on Fuller Capital Account Convertibility (CFAC) defined international currency as a currency that is widely used for international transactions. An international currency is supposed to perform three international functions. See table. Hollow circle e.g. today, the US dollar is the most widely accepted currency for international transactions, followed by euro. The share of the dollar, as an invoicing currency, is 3.1 times of USA's share in world exports and 4.7 times of its world imports. Hollow circle in the early 1960s, even rupee was accepted as legal tender in Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman and Malaysia. But, today, almost 86% of India's imports as well as 86% of the exports are invoiced in dollars. Internationalization of a currency rupee here is a process to increase rupee acceptance credibility across the world through activities as given in image. It can also be referred to adopting full capital account convertibility, i.e., freedom to convert local financial assets into foreign financial assets and vice versa. Currently, India allows partial capital account convertibility and full current account convertibility. Hollow circle current account convertibility is the freedom or ability to convert domestic currency into any foreign currency and vice versa. Initiatives toward internationalization of rupee. In India, the broad framework for cross-border transactions is governed by the Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA, 1999. International functions of money for governments for private sectors. Store of value international reserves currency substitution medium of exchange. Vehicle currency for foreign exchange intervention. Invoicing trade and financial transactions. Unit of account. Anchor for pegging local currency. Denominating trade and financial transactions. 27 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. FEMA replaced the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, 1973 to shift India's approach from that of conservation to management of foreign exchange, helping in significant growth of India's exports and capital flows. Further, to strengthen India's role as an international financial center, the government and RBI has taken a number of initiatives towards internationalization of rupee. See image. Benefits of internationalization of rupee. Reduced foreign exchange reserves requirement for balance of payment stability due to reduced dependence on foreign currency for trade. It can also reduce the imposed cost of forex on the economy by interest rate differential (IRD). Hollow circle IRD is the change in interest rates between the currencies of two countries. Reduced vulnerability to external shocks because of reduced dependence on foreign currency. Mitigates currency risks for Indian enterprises by eliminating foreign exchange fluctuation, reducing the cost of doing business and support global growth of Indian businesses. Enhance India's global stature and respect, helping Indian businesses through increased bargaining power. Hollow circle e.g., Post-2008 recession, Chinese efforts to internationalize renminbi helped in increasing its global stature. Challenges in internationalization of rupee may complicate domestic monetary policy by limiting its effectiveness and independence, i.e., RBI's ability to control domestic money supply and influence interest rates as per domestic macroeconomic conditions. Hollow circle. It gives rise to the impossible trinity trilemma of an open economy, meaning no country can simultaneously reach the policy goals of free capital movement, exchange rate stability, and independent monetary policy. Increased refinancing risk by aggravating the pass-through risks of external stimulus to domestic financial markets from non-resident holdings of rupee. Hollow circle. For instance, during a phase of global recession, the non-residents can convert their rupee holdings and move out. Heightened exchange rate volatility. Value of rupee in case inflation rate is higher than the global rate of from uncontrolled flow of capital. Hollow circle. It goes against the prerequisite of price stability before the internationalization of a currency as inflation higher than global rate undermines the use of a currency as an international medium of exchange and a store of value. Increased responsibility to maintain international financial and monetary system order, i.e., increased burden to play the role of lender of last resort. 28 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Way forward. Internationalization of rupee has significant benefits, but to achieve it successfully, would require some prerequisites. Developing a deep domestic financial market and its infrastructure, including efficient markets for funding and risk transfer, a precondition to effectively absorb external shocks. Effective management of capital inflows, volume and composition through the right combination of policies, macro-prudential regulations, market interventions etc. OEG, in the capital flows hierarchy, the foreign direct investment is the least risky, followed by equity investment, followed by debt capital. So, the first focus of policies and macro-prudential regulations should be debt flows. Increasing rupee acceptance as currency for reserves, i.e., currency in which assets are held. E.g., over $7.5 trillion of U.S. Treasury securities are held by various nations in August 2022. Increase India's share in global merchandise and commercial services trade, helping the rupee to gain acceptance as currency of trade. 3.3. Productivity Challenge of India. Why in News. Indian Productivity Report was released by RBI and Center for Development Economics. About productivity. Productivity may be defined as the ratio of the output of goods and services to the inputs, human as well as others, used in the production process. Or in other words, it measures how efficiently production inputs, such as labor and capital, are being used in an economy to produce a given level of output. Different types of productivity measures are. Labor productivity. It is defined as the ratio of output to number of workers or number of hours worked. With GDP as the measure of output and number of workers as the measure of input, labor productivity is closely related to GDP per capita, which is a measure of the standard of living in a country. Total Factor Productivity (TFP). It is a measure of total output divided by a weighted average of inputs, i.e., labor and capital. Improvements in TFP bring down production costs, raise output levels, and lead to a higher GDP. Also, TFP growth is often associated with innovation and technological progress, the long-run drivers of per capita income growth. 29 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Significance of productivity. Drives economic growth. A highly productive economy means that it is able to produce more goods or services with the same amount of resource or produce the same level of goods and services with less resources. Increased productivity affects everyone. For businesses brings higher profit and opportunity for more investment. For workers translate to higher wages and better working conditions. For government, higher tax revenues. Improved competitiveness and trade performance. A swift, substantial augmentation of productivity would enable India's production units to penetrate in a much bigger way into the global export markets. Better policy formulation. Analysis of changes in factor inputs and productivity at the industry level is essential in identifying India's growth path to facilitate a pro-growth structural transformation. To participate in global value chain, increased productivity would help better position India in the global value chain and fend off the intense competition from imports which displaces domestic producers. Achieving SDGs. Strengthening productivity is particularly important in view of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development as it will help to end poverty. Goal 1 End hunger. Goal 2 Reduce inequality. Goal 10 etc. Reasons for low productivity in India. Lack of skilled workforce. In 2020, Indian companies had identified skill gaps as their greatest barrier, representing 34% of the challenges they experienced. In 2022, this has risen to 60%. Large unorganized sector and small size of firms. This creates several hurdles to productivity as enterprises are unable to invest in the machinery due to a lack of access to capital. They are also unable to invest in worker skilling. Innovation limited to frontier firms. Majority of small enterprises face challenges related to the introduction, use and spread of labor. Productivity boosting innovation, lack of automation, outdated manufacturing processes etc. Availability of data. Constraints on data for inputs and output at the detailed industry level made it difficult to produce a fair analysis of factor inputs and productivity in other sectors of the economy. Lack of adoption of good management practices. A high proportion of India's firms score poorly on basic management practices such as in the monitoring of performance, the setting of targets and people management. Way forward. Lowering barriers to trade and investment. Barriers to international trade and foreign investment can be detrimental to productivity growth as economies with lower barriers and greater integration into supply chains have experienced higher growth. Encourage growth of firm size. Larger firms are typically more productive than smaller firms, reflected in higher wages paid by larger firms. Improve quality of training. Improve the access of quality and relevant training for all, including marginalized section, particularly in the rural areas, to raise productivity and income. Initiatives taken for improving productivity. Various flagship programs such as Skill India Mission, Make in India, Digital India, Smart City Mission, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Housing for All, infrastructure development and industrial corridors are oriented towards improving productivity, generating employment opportunities and economic growth. Focus on infrastructure development such as National Infrastructure Pipeline, PM Gati Shakti, dedicated freight corridors etc. Technological interventions for processing, product development, sustainability, and export orientation in agriculture sector. 30 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. It will also to link opportunities for better livelihood and employment. Investing in ICT, it can have a positive impact on growth as ICT equipments enable new organizational models and other innovations in the production process as well as the production of new goods and services. Fostering productivity in industry, particularly manufacturing sector, through initiatives like trade reforms. Skills upgrading programs. Infrastructure upgradation, improving accessibility to ICT, encouraging FDI and innovation. Reforming education for innovation and productivity. For workers to be able to use new technology and capital productively, education and training systems need to be adapted to provide new skills, competencies and abilities. 3.4. Open Network for Digital Commerce ONDC. in News. ONDC Network recently started beta testing with consumers in Bengaluru. What is Open Network for Digital Commerce ONDC? ONDC is an initiative of the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce. It was incorporated as a Section 8 non-profit organization under Companies Act 2013 company in December 2021. The Quality Council of India and Protean Egrove Technologies Limited are its initial promoters. It aims at promoting open networks for all aspects of exchange of goods and services over digital or electronic networks. ONDC started its alpha test phase with a closed user group of buyers first in Bengaluru in April 2022, expanding to more than 80 cities by September 2022. This validated the apps and confirmed business and operational flows. Now in beta testing phase, general public can experience shopping via ONDC and provide early feedback for necessary action if any before expanding further. Related news: Shiprocket became the first intercity logistics provider to plug into the ONDC network. Other network participants of ONDC, Bioside, Paytm Mall, Kotak, IDFC, GOFRUGL, Craftsvilla, PhonePe, etc. Seller side, Zoho, Snapdeal, etc. Logistics providers, Loadshare, Dunzo, Ekart, etc. First multinational company to join ONDC, Microsoft. 31 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. How is ONDC different from traditional e-commerce models? Unlike traditional paradigm of e-commerce, ONDC is not dependent on any specific platform and technology. It is an open network of platforms applications which are interoperable, as a result of which operational control is decentralized. Significance of ONDC in India. Ending monopolistic tendencies, ONDC will lower entry barriers for local businesses and create a level playing field for the e-commerce landscape, currently dominated by players like Amazon and Flipkart. Enhancement of value for consumers. Consumers can potentially discover any seller, product or service by using any compatible application or platform. This will increase freedom of choice for consumers. Or it can bridge the huge disconnect between the scale of online demand and the ability of the local retail ecosystem to participate. India has the third largest online shopper base globally, with 14 crore retail shoppers in 2020, only behind China and the US. This number is expected to grow significantly with the addition of 37 crore tech-savvy consumers by 2030. Moving away from an operator-driven platform-centric model, consolidating most of the trade of digital commerce in one platform creates concentration risk. It can also lead to exclusion and discretionary behavior, limiting the choice and freedom of the buyers and sellers. ONDC resolves these issues by creating a facilitator-driven interoperable decentralized network for e-commerce. 32 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Formalizing local businesses. Around 1.2 crore hyperlocal merchants kirana account for 80% of the retail sector in India, with 90% of them being unorganized or self-organized. ONDCs can help in their formalization by creating active digital history and enabling easier local businesses. Around 1.2 crore hyperlocal merchants kirana account for 80% of the retail sector in India, with 90% of them being unorganized or self-organized. ONDCs can help in their formalization by creating active digital history and enabling easier access to finance options. Growth and development. ONDC will enable economic development and livelihood creation opportunities across the digital commerce value chain, i.e., logistics, packaging, last mile delivery, etc. Encouraging widespread participation of small and medium enterprises. ONDC can help lower entry barriers for micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs) that have the potential to flourish with innovative sales and marketing efforts. Other potential benefits: enhanced supply chain efficiencies. Amplifying geographic and socio-economic coverage of digital commerce landscape. Standardization of operations. Enhanced transparency in pricing. Greater innovation through open network etc. Potential challenges in implementing ONDC. Grievance redressal. Decentralized system can lead to lack of clarity over who shoulders the responsibility for customer service and redressal in case of grievances. Difficulties in ensuring compatibility and interoperability of the existing platforms applications of the buyers and seller. Limited technical capability of local businesses and MSMEs to be onboarded on the digital network. Privacy and security concerns. Such open network may lead to collection of personal data which may have privacy issues, and its open nature may expose it to hackers. Competition from big players. Local business will find it extremely challenging to compete with the discounts, sales and other lucrative offers being offered by prominent e-commerce players. Way forward. Provide technical support to small and local businesses to use and design a technical tool compatible with ONDC protocol for their digital onboarding. Minimal personal data collection. Data exchange protocols should be designed to minimize friction. Also, it must be based on clear rules that protect the consumer interest, i.e., the platform should be built on privacy by design principles. Leverage the strength of India's startup ecosystem to build ONDC-based applications. Establishing trust among consumers. Clear guidelines on grievance redressal need to be established. For the purpose, ONDC is conducting a public consultation on 24 issues pertaining to payments, fulfillment of orders, refunds and cancellations on building trust in the ONDC network. Encourage niche products and services. For instance, ONDC can be integrated with One District One Product (ODOP). 3.5. Nobel Prizes 2022. Why in news? The Nobel Assembly and the Royal Swedish Academy of Science have announced the winners of the Medicine, Physics and Chemistry Nobel for the year 2022. About Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize is an international award administered by the Nobel Foundation in Stockholm, Sweden, and based on the last will of Alfred Nobel in 1895. Hollow Circle. Alfred Nobel, a Swedish inventor and entrepreneur, is popularly known for inventing dynamite, blasting cap and smokeless gunpowder. Categories. Instituted in 1901, the prize is awarded annually from the bulk of fortune left by Alfred Nobel in 5 categories: physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature and peace, conferred to people for the greatest benefit to humankind in preceding year. 33 www. Visionaries. In copyright Vision IAS. Hollow Circle. The 6th category, the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, was instituted in 1968 by the Royal Bank of Sweden and was first awarded in 1969. What do the winners receive? The recipient of each prize receives 3 things: Hollow Circle, a Nobel diploma, each of which is a unique work of art. Hollow Circle, a Nobel medal. Hollow Circle, a cash prize of 10 million Swedish krona. They have to deliver a lecture to receive the money. Who awards the prizes? The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences awards the Nobel Prize in Physics, Chemistry and Economics. Hollow Circle. The Nobel Prize in Literature is awarded by the Swedish Academy, Stockholm, Sweden. Hollow Circle. The Nobel Assembly at Karolinska Institute, Stockholm, Sweden awards the Nobel Prize in Medicine Physiology. Hollow Circle. The Norwegian Nobel Committee is responsible for the selection of eligible candidates and the choice of the Nobel Peace Prize laureates. Prize winners are called laureates, to signify the laurel wreath given to victors of contests in ancient Greece. More than 1, but no more than 3, people can win each prize. The Nobel statutes prohibit the judges from discussing their deliberations for 50 years. Kindly note that Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Physics and Medicine have been covered under Science and Technology section. Nobel Prize in Literature and Nobel Peace Prize are covered under Culture section. 3.5.1 Nobel Prize for Economics 2022. Why in news? The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences for research on banks and financial crises. More about news. The prize has been awarded to 3 US-based economists: O. Ben S. Bernanke, former chair of the US Federal Reserve and currently associated with the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. O. Douglas W. Diamond and Philip H. Dybvig are professors of banking and finance. Their work focused on understanding the role of banks in the economy, refer to infographics. Their findings are of the greatest benefit to society as their insights have improved our ability to avoid both serious crises and expensive bailouts. 34 www. Visionaries. In copyright Vision IAS. About the research. Research by Bernanke. Bernanke analyzed the Great Depression of the 1930s, the worst economic crisis in modern history. Before his study, bank failures were seen as a consequence of the financial crisis. However, in 1983, he proved bank runs led to bank failures that turned a relatively ordinary recession into a depression. When the banks collapsed, valuable information about borrowers was lost and could not be recreated quickly. Society's ability to channel savings to productive investments was thus severely diminished. He demonstrated that the economy did not start to recover until the state finally implemented powerful measures to prevent additional bank panics. Bernanke, as the head of the US Federal Reserve, used his wisdom to prevent further deterioration of the 2008 financial crisis. Research by Diamond and Dybvig. They developed theoretical models explaining following. Conflict of saver and investors. For the economy to function, savings must be channeled to investments. However, there is a conflict here between savers and investors, prefer infographics. In their theory, Diamond and Dybvig show how banks offer an optimal solution to this problem. By acting as intermediaries that accept deposits from many savers, banks can allow depositors to access their money when they wish, while also offering long-term loans to borrowers. However, their analysis also showed how the combination of these two activities makes banks vulnerable to rumors about their imminent collapse. If a large number of savers simultaneously run to the bank to withdraw their money, the rumor may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. A bank run occurs and the bank collapses. These dangerous dynamics can be prevented through the government providing deposit insurance and acting as a lender of last resort to banks. Role of banks in the society. Diamond demonstrated how banks perform another societally important function. As intermediaries between many savers and borrowers, banks are better suited to assessing borrowers' creditworthiness and ensuring that loans are used for good investments. About bank runs. Bank runs happen when depositors become worried about the bank's survival and rush to withdraw their savings. If enough people do this simultaneously, the bank's reserves cannot cover all the withdrawals, and it is driven to bankruptcy. Due to bank runs, the recession of 1929 had turned into a full-fledged banking crisis by 1930 as half the banks went bankrupt. Deposit Insurance in India. Deposit Insurance in India was launched in 1962. India was the second country in the world to introduce such a scheme after the United States in 1933. In India, each depositor in a bank is insured up to a maximum of 5 lakh rupees for both principal and interest amount. 35 www. Vision Years. In Copyright Vision IAS. 3.6. Digital Banking Units DBUSY in News. The PM dedicated 75 digital banking units DBUs as part of efforts to spread the benefits of digital banking to every nook and corner of India. Digital banking units DBUs setup and services. Recently, the Reserve Bank of India (RBI) also issued guidelines on establishment of DBUs. A DBU refers to a specialized fixed-point business unit hub housing certain minimum infrastructure for delivering digital banking products and services as well as servicing existing financial products and services digitally. These are brick-and-mortar banking outlets with digital infrastructure to deliver a variety of banking products and services to people via a self-service zone where customers can access an ATM, a cash deposit machine, print passbook, access internet banking, pay bills and taxes etc. Or digital assistance zone to assist customers to undertake the services including opening of savings account, current account, etc. Based on the RBI guidelines, the 75 DBUs are set as a joint initiative of the government, the RBI, the Indian Banks Association and the participating banks. DBUs can be set up by all scheduled commercial banks SCBs excluding regional rural banks, payments banks and local area banks with past digital banking experience. E.g. the banks setting the 75 DBUs include 11 public sector banks, 12 private sector banks and 1 small finance bank. SCBs are permitted to open DBUs in Tier 1 to Tier 6 centers, without the need to seek permission from RBI unless otherwise specifically restricted. Significance of DBUs. Promote digital financial literacy by acting as digital financial literacy centers and simplification of banking procedures for increased digital banking adoption. 36 www. Vision Years. In Copyright Vision IAS. It is estimated that 540 million people in India have never made a digital payment. Improve financial inclusion by taking digital banking to areas which lack connectivity or digital accessibility. For instance, hassle-free account opening, easy access to government schemes etc. According to Global Findex Database 2021, India is among 7 countries which is home to half the world's 1.4 billion adults without access to formal banking. Build a robust and secure banking system through its special emphasis on cyber security awareness for customers. As per National Crime Records Bureau NCRB data, 3,432 cases of credit and debit card frauds were filed across India in 2021. Strengthening digital economy by pushing banks to adopt digital strategy, launch of new products and services and foster innovation by collaborating with fintech companies. It can facilitate end-to-end digital processing of MSME retail loans for increased credit penetration in the country. Other benefits of DBUs, reduced operating costs for banks in the long run by reducing physical footprint, light banking approach. Improved usability through 24x7 banking services e.g. cash deposit and withdrawal. Greater personalization of products and services by using artificial intelligence AI and machine learning milliliter in processing real-time data. Support transparency by reducing circulation of cash in the economy, helping in greater formalization of the economy. Limitations of DBUs. Low public awareness. People in semi-urban and rural areas lack financial literacy and internet use due to lower smartphone penetration. Digital connectivity. DBUs need stable internet connectivity and power supply to carry out transactions and offer enriched customer experience, a challenge in major part of the country. Higher cyber frauds risk or threat to privacy because of increased phishing attempts, malware attacks, identity thefts etc. High initial cost for banks in infrastructure setup of DBUs and in development, maintenance and security of hardware and software needed to keep them simple, efficient and safe. Way forward. Digital banking units can drastically change the way banks and customers interact with one another. But DBUs cannot operate in isolation. They will have to be accompanied with efforts in the direction of increasing financial education, improving digital infrastructure and most importantly, ensuring that there is trust in the digital banking ecosystem. 3.7. Poverty and Shared Prosperity 2022. Why in News? The World Bank WB recently released the Poverty and Shared Prosperity 2022 FEAT report. Key findings of the report. Setback to global poverty due to COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic increased the global extreme poverty rate to an estimated 9.3% in 2020, up from 8.4% in 2019. Extent of poverty. In 2019, nearly half of the world's population, 47%, lived in poverty. 2020 marked a historic turning point. Global inequality rose for the first time in decades. Income losses of the poorest 40% of world's population were twice as high as those of the richest 20%. Global median income declined by 4% for the first time since WB's measurements began in 1990. Uneven economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The richest economies have recovered from the pandemic at a much faster pace than low and middle income economies. Definitions of poverty by the World Bank based on consumption level. Extreme poverty, living on less than $2.15 a day. Poverty, living on less than $6.85 a day. 37 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. India related findings. Increase in poverty. As per the data from the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy CMI, the number of people living in poverty increased by 56 million in 2020. Almost 80% of the total 70 million people globally pushed into poverty during COVID were in India. Rate of poverty decline was less than suggested by earlier estimates, at the $1.90 poverty line. Latest estimate shows that poverty was 13.6% in 2017 as against 10.4% predicted earlier. Absence of recent data for India severely limited the measurement of poverty in South Asia. There have been no official estimates of poverty available since 2011, which based on the data of National Sample Survey Organization (NSSO). Notable successes during COVID-19. India managed to provide food or cash support to 85% of rural households and 69% of urban households, helped by digital cash transfers. Use of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act (MGNREGA) to mitigate income losses during COVID-19 reduced job losses by 7% in rural areas over the baseline employment rate. Way forward. Recommendations of the report. Reorient spending away from subsidies towards support targeted to poor and vulnerable groups. For example, programs like targeted cash transfers are far more likely to reach poor and vulnerable groups. Increase public investment that supports long-run development, such as investments in the human capital of young people or investments in infrastructure and research and development. 38 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Reforming fiscal policy. Successful fiscal reform to restore pandemic-related losses will require the support of sufficiently powerful domestic coalitions as well as stepped-up global cooperation. Mobilizing revenue without hurting the poor. This can be accomplished through property and carbon taxes and by making personal and corporate income taxes more progressive. 3.8. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Why in News? The Standing Committee on Labour, Textiles and Skill Development recently submitted its report on implementation of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana (PMKVY). About Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana (PMKVY). It is the flagship scheme of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship (MSDE) implemented by National Skill Development Corporation. It has two major components. Poverty Estimation Studies in India Tendulkar Committee, 2009 methodology, based on monthly per capita consumption expenditure MPCE computed on the basis of data from the National Sample Survey Organization (NSSO). For 2011-12, poverty line was estimated at Rs. 816 per capita per month for rural areas and Rs. 1000 per capita per month in urban areas. Findings: 21.9% of total population were below poverty line in 2011-12. Rangarajan Committee, 2014 methodology, based on an independent large survey of households by Center for Monitoring Indian Economy (CMI). Per poverty line was estimated as monthly per capita expenditure of Rs. 1407 in urban areas and Rs. 972 in rural areas. Findings: 29.5% of total population were below poverty line in 2011-12. NITI Aayog's National Multidimensional Poverty Index, Baseline Report. Methodology, based on National Family Health Survey NFHS-4 of 2015-16, which captures multiple deprivations faced by households across the three macro dimensions of health including nutrition, education and living standards. Findings: 25.01% of India's population is multidimensionally poor. Other committees for poverty estimation. Alag Committee 1979, Lakdawala Committee 1993. Case study of China's efforts towards poverty alleviation. The World Bank found that between 1978 and 2019, China's poverty headcount dropped from 770 million to 5.5 million people. In 2021, China declared that it has eradicated extreme poverty. 39 www. Visioneers. In copyright Vision IAS. Or centrally sponsored, centrally managed CSCM, central component implemented centrally through National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC, and or centrally sponsored state managed CSSM, state component implemented by state skill development missions, state governments. Objective of PMKVY, to enable a large number of Indian youth to take up industry-relevant skill training that will help them in securing a better livelihood. Individuals with prior learning experience or skills are also assessed and certified under recognition of prior learning (RPL). The scheme is presently in its third phase, which was launched in January 2021. Several new initiatives like customized crash course program for COVID warriors, upskilling for weavers and artisans in traditional crafts in Nagaland and Kashmir etc. were launched under PMKVY 3.0. Implementation challenges identified in the report. Non-utilization of funds, under PMKVY 3.0, in 2021-22, out of the total fund allocation, only 72% was utilized. Low placements, under PMKVY 3.0, out of about 4 lakh candidates, only 8% have been placed. Poor functioning of Atmanirbhar Skilled Employer Mapping ASEEM portal due to the large gap in the number of candidates registered and those who actually secured employment. Issues under the CSSM component. Several state skill development missions face issues such as delay in release of funds from the state treasury, non-availability of trainers with right eligibility criteria, limited or non-availability of placement partners due to less industrialization in the state, high pendency of assessments with sector skills councils, delay in payments to sector skills councils etc. Lack of functional online management system. Out of 36 states and UTs, the online management system for CSSM component is functional only in 15 states and UTs. 40 www. Visioneers. In copyright Vision IAS. Outdated skills, training course and curriculum under PMKVY have not been aligned with the actual industry requirements. Also the practical skills imparted under PMKVY training are not as per the industry needs. Complex procedures. The process for reporting the placement details of the candidates is cumbersome. High dropout rates. During the implementation of PMKVY 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0, approx. 20% of the total enrolled candidates dropped out of the training program. Reasons include medical grounds, distance from residence to training centers, accessibility to a job, and issues specific to females such as pregnancy and marriage. Non-establishment of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras PMKKs. Out of the 818 PMKKs allocated, only 722 PMKKs had been established. Reasons for non-establishment are non-availability of suitable infrastructure, COVID-led operational and financial challenges, etc. Rural-urban disparity. Centers of PMKVY are concentrated more in urban areas. Way forward. Recommendations of the report. Regular monitoring and strict follow-up action to ensure optimal utilization of the earmarked funds. Making the certification process more transparent and effective so that it facilitates more self-employment besides ensuring fair wages to the skilled candidates. Boost the number of employers registered on the ASEEM portal and encourage them to make use of the portal for the purpose of employing more skilled candidates. Closely monitor the performance of the states through timely and regular interventions to help the states improve their performance. Work in tandem with the defaulting state governments, UT administrations so that the online management system is put in place there for prudent implementation of the scheme. Identify the areas where the ministry could effectively intervene and lend support to prevent dropouts. Encourage industry buy-in and contribution for skilling including sharing of training infrastructure, demand aggregation, introduction of on-job training OJT etc. Enhance flexibility in course curriculums by introducing courses in partnership with industry, government ministries, departments, and promote apprenticeship opportunities for candidates. Encourage the industries, establishments, and other employers to participate in such melis and offer employment opportunities. Ensure establishment of the targeted PMKKs. 3.9. Draft Coal Logistic Policy 2022. YN News. Recently, the Ministry of Coal has sought feedback on Draft Coal Logistic Policy 2022. About Draft Coal Logistic Policy 2022. Policy aims to identify, evaluate, and eliminate gaps in existing coal evacuation infrastructure and environment-friendly transportation of coal from mine to the end-use plant. Coal logistics means transport of coal from origin to destination through single multimodal mode of transportation and includes storage, loading, for purpose of delivery to power plants, steel manufacturing, etc. 41 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Vision of draft policy envisages is to develop a technologically enabled, integrated, cost-efficient, resilient, sustainable, and trusted logistics ecosystem for accelerated and inclusive growth. As per Coal Vision 2030 feet commissioned by Coal India in 2017, domestic coal demand was estimated to be 1,300–1,900 MT per annum by 2030. Policy strategies to be taken to improve coal logistics sector. Smart coal logistics corridors. It needs to be established for ensuring complete oversight on every ton of coal from the mine to the consumption point. Smart coal logistics corridors can be defined as technology-enabled coal logistics chains that provide real-time information regarding logistics processes from the mine to the destination. Multimodal network of transport. The policy proposes to formulate a multimodal integrated national coal evacuation plan. A Technical Support Unit and an Interministerial Committee IMC will be set up for formulating the plan. Rights of way, row of rail and roads and first mile evacuation are planned as part of the mine allocation process. Green transportation initiatives. There is need to focus on modal shift to conveyors, railways and waterways from road transportation of coal. Data-driven systems. Development of data-driven systems for monitoring the logistics ecosystem to enable higher logistics efficiency. Rationalize railway tariff. Railway tariff rationalization for first and last mile connectivity to and from ports can enhance the viability of RSR rail route for coal. Other initiatives. Common user facilities like railway siding where there are 2 to 3 mines close to each other. Use of conveyor needs to be promoted wherever it is economical to use. Way forward. Focus on coal gasification. This shall significantly reduce logistics cost and improve the overall profitability and viability of the project. Coal transportation in India. Coal evacuation infrastructure typically comprises of the following logistics segments. First mile logistics, trunk mile logistics, last mile logistics. Important modes of transport of coal are rail, road and the rail-cum-sea route and captive modes such as merry-go-round MGR systems, conveyor belts and ropeways. 42 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Improve transport and infrastructure. Infrastructure developments driven by PPP, restructuring of railway networks to connect with coal-bearing areas, enhancing port capacities and evacuation efficiency, augmenting existing capacities from existing ports etc. Research and exploration. Promote research and exploration activities and modern underground mass production technologies to deal with land acquisition-related issues. Engaging stakeholders. Indian Railways, Port Authority and industry need to work in close collaboration to plan development of infrastructural facilities as per requirements. Dedicated private lines. Logistics availability and coordination in offtake arrangements for coal through railways needs dedicated private lines to be built in areas where future mining capacity will come up. Initiatives taken to improve coal logistics. Freight Operations Information System FOIS. It helps to monitor movement of freight trains which also calculates freight and other charges. The Center for Railway Information Systems CRIS also offers Freight Business Data Integration FBDI for FOIS that can be used by the customers for integration with their internal MIS networks. PM Gati Shakti. The plan will holistically look at the interventions required to be taken for reduction of logistics cost for coal evacuation and thus lead to efficiency gains in coal sector. 3.10. One Nation One Fertilizer on YN News. Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizer launched Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Urvarak Pariyojana, One Nation One Fertilizer scheme. About the scheme. This scheme aims at marketing fertilizers in the country under Bharat brand name. Under the scheme, all subsidized soil nutrients urea, the ammonium phosphate DAP, muriate of potash MOP and NPK will be marketed under the single brand Bharat. The uniform design of bags across the country will now mention them as Bharat Urea, Bharat DAP, Bharat MOP, Bharat NPK, and so on. This is applicable to all fertilizer companies, state trading entities STEs and fertilizer marketing entities FMEs. Scheme outlines the specifications of the new packaging for companies. The new Bharat brand name and PMBJP logo will cover 2/3 of the front of the fertilizer packet. The manufacturing brands can only display their name, logo, and other information on the remaining 1/3 space. Related news: Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samriddhi Kendra's PMKSK government also plans to develop more than 3.25 lakh fertilizer shops across the country as PMKSK under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizer. PMKSK will help in catering to a wide variety of needs of the farmers and provide agri-inputs, fertilizers, seeds, implements or testing facilities for soil, seeds, and fertilizers. Generate awareness among farmers. Provide information regarding various government schemes. Cabinet has approved nutrient-based subsidy NBS rates for various nutrients, that is nitrogen N, phosphorus P, potash K and sulfur S for phosphatic and potassic P and K fertilizer for 2022-23 Rabi season. This will help in absorbing volatility in international prices of fertilizer and raw materials provide smooth availability of fertilizer to farmers at subsidized affordable prices. Commercial prices of fertilizers had almost doubled due to Ukraine-Russia conflict and logistics issues due to pandemic. 43 www. Visionaries. In copyright Vision IAS. About fertilizers in India. Fertilizer have played an essential role in agricultural production, providing vital nutrients for crops and registering increasing demands over the years. There are three basic types of fertilizer used: urea, diammonium phosphate DAP and muriate of potash MOP. Amongst them, urea is the most produced 86%, the most consumed 74% share, and the most imported 52%. Fertilizer industry forms a part of the 8 core industries. The Indian fertilizer market is projected to register a CAGR of 11.9% during the forecast period 2022-2027. Government decides where manufacturers can sell their products under the Fertilizer Movement Control Order, 1973 issued under the Essential Commodities Act, 1955. Government provides subsidy to various fertilizers under different schemes. Fertilizer subsidy in India. Government is making available fertilizer, namely urea and 25 grades for P and K fertilizer to farmers at subsidized prices through fertilizer manufacturers importers. Subsidy on P and K fertilizer is being governed by Nutrient-Based Subsidy NBS scheme. ONBS was introduced in 2010, in continuation of erstwhile concession scheme 1992. It covers fertilizer with primary nutrients N, P, K and S as well as any variant of fertilizer with secondary and micronutrients except S. Subsidy is released directly to fertilizer companies at approved rates based on Interministerial Committee recommendation. Subsidy for urea is provided under Urea Subsidy Scheme. It is a central sector scheme under which urea is provided to the farmers at a statutorily notified maximum retail price MRP below their normal supply and demand-based market rates or what it costs to produce import them. The difference between the delivered cost of fertilizer at farm gate and net market realization by the urea units is given as subsidy to the urea manufacturer importer by the Govt. of India. It also includes freight subsidy for movement of urea across the country. The subsidy is given to the fertilizer manufacturing companies and the rate of subsidy is decided on annual basis. From March 2018, a new direct benefit transfer (DBT) system was introduced, wherein only upon the sale getting registered on the Urvarak platform can a company claim subsidy. Issues in fertilizer sector in India. High fiscal burden. Fertilizer accounts for large fiscal subsidies, about 0.73 lakh crore, 0.5% of GDP, the second highest after food subsidy. Large unpaid subsidy backlogs create question on the sustainability of current subsidy regime. Import dependency of fertilizer sector. India consumes 55 million metric ton MMT of fertilizer annually, of which nearly 30% is imported. 44 www. Visionaries. In copyright Vision IAS. Ecological impact of excessive fertilizer usage. excessive use of fertilizer emits significant quantities of greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. In many industrialized countries, overuse of fertilizer has resulted in contamination of surface water and groundwater. Over-regulations. Economic Survey of 2016 highlighted that fertilizer sector is highly regulated and only a small proportion of the small and marginal farmers are benefited. 24% of the subsidy is spent on inefficient urea producers, of the remaining, 41% is diverted to non-agricultural uses and abroad. Of the remaining, 24% is consumed by larger presumably richer farmers. Limitation for private sectors. With the ONAV scheme, ban branding will effectively deprive fertilizer makers of the ability to differentiate their products and retain market shares, serving as a deterrent to private presence in the sector. Private players would also have little incentive to experiment with customized products or new nutrient combinations. Way forward. Just inflation. The main reason for the hefty cost of the fertilizer subsidy bill is that the center has not hiked selling prices even marginally to keep up with inflation. Integrated Plant Nutrition Management Bill, 2022. This bill has been put up for public consultation, which seeks to regulate the pricing, movement, distribution, import, and storage of fertilizers in the country to ensure their balanced use in the country. Awareness among farmers. Farmers should be made aware regarding the benefits of balanced usage of fertilizer. Also, modeling the fertilizer proportion according to different agroclimatic regions is needed for the better growth and health of crops and soil. Direct Benefit Transfer (DBT) Center can explore the more intuitive solution of decontrolling prices of fertilizers, while subsidizing farmers directly through Direct Benefit Transfer (DBT). Making subsidy payments directly into farmers' accounts instead of routing it through manufacturers will help in targeting of small farmers and reduce leakages. It will also promote the center's objective of making farmers aware of the subsidy element in fertilizers in a more direct manner. 3.11 Minimum Support Price (MSP). In news. Recently, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs (CCEA) approved an increase in minimum support price (MSP) for 6 Rabi crops for 2023-24. More on news. Increase in MSP is in line with Union Budget 2018-19 announcement of fixing MSP at a level of at least 1.5 times of All India weighted average cost of production. Maximum rate of return at current MSP is 104% for rapeseed and mustard, followed by 100% for wheat and 85% for lentils. The larger increase in the MSP of mustard and rapeseed could also help in the diversion of some area under wheat to these oilseeds. 45 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. About Minimum Support Price (MSP). It is a price support mechanism that acts as a safety net given to farmers to ensure guaranteed prices and assured markets for their products. The MSP-based procurement system is aimed to save the crops from price fluctuations due to various unwarranted factors such as the monsoon, information asymmetry etc. MSP system was started in 1966-67 for wheat and was expanded further to include other essential food crops, which was then sold to the poor under subsidized rates under Public Distribution System (PDS). It is fixed twice a year on recommendations of the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices (CAST) statutory body and then approved by CCEA. The CACP determines the MSP based on the expenses incurred by the farmer. See infographics. The final MSP is determined as a function of expenses incurred A2 and the imputed value of family labor Florida. There have been demands for considering a different costing method C2. National Commission on Farmers Swaminathan Committee had also recommended MSP should be at least 50% more than the weighted average cost of production. Issues associated with MSPs. Procurement, delay in setting up procurement centers and lack of government machinery for procurement of other crops except wheat and rice procured by Food Corporation of India. Disparity among states. Farmers of states where the grain is procured completely by the government benefit more while those in states that procure less are often affected. In 2021, more than 95% of paddy growers benefit from MSP in Punjab while in Uttar Pradesh, only 3.6% of farmers benefit. Ecological, MSP regime has led to increased production of wheat and paddy due to higher MSP offered on these crops. This has led to ecological issues such as decreased groundwater table, salinity as seen in Punjab. Fiscal burden. In 2020-21, food subsidy bill was nearly 30% of net tax revenue of the central government, reflecting huge financial burden on the government. 46 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. Middlemen. MSP-based procurement system is dependent on middlemen, commission agents and APMC officials, who rope in the maximum benefit, leaving farmer with low remuneration for the production. Inflation targeting. Higher MSPs could upend the Reserve Bank of India's inflation targets, hurting economic growth. Every 1 percentage point increase in MSPs leads to a 15 basis point increase in inflation. Make India's agri-exports non-competitive. Mandatory MSPs will render India's agri-exports non-competitive because the government's assured prices are way higher than both domestic and international market prices. Farmer income. Skewed MSP system of rice and wheat discourages farmers to grow other crops and horticulture products, which has higher demand and could lead to increase in farmers' income. Way forward. Improve procurement. Government can bring a law on right to sell at MSP by marginal and small farmers with a carefully designed methodology. Also, procurement of crops should be linked with their production of each state. Increase diversification in procurement interventions. There is need to revisit the strategy on demand and supply, including PDS system, for balancing the nutritional security of the population. Deficiency price payments DPP system. In this scheme, the government, rather than procuring from farmers, compensates farmers with cash transfers when the market price falls below MSP. For example, Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana in Madhya Pradesh. Area planning. The cropping system should be tailored to local consumption patterns rather than for only getting the maximum price, irrespective of whether the produce has a demand or not. Income support. For many of non-staple commodities, MSPs are announced with little or no procurement. Thus, a gradual movement to an income-based support system is needed. This also obviates the need for physical procurement and storage by the government. PM Kisan is currently attempting this, but the support under the program is grossly inadequate. Center State Contributory Price Stabilization Fund. It should be established to insulate farmers from a significant fall in prices, either due to domestic factors or global trade factors. 3.12. Development of Northeast Region. In News. Cabinet approved new scheme, Prime Minister's Development Initiative for Northeast Region PM Devine. About Prime Minister's Development Initiative for Northeast Region PM Devine. PM Devine was announced in the Union Budget 2022-23 to address development gaps in the Northeastern Region (NER). It is a central sector scheme. It will be implemented by Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region (MDONR) through Northeastern Council or Central Ministries agencies. Scheme will have an outlay of Rs. 6,600 crore for the 4-year period from 2022-23 to 2025-26 remaining years of 15th Finance Commission period. Demand for legalizing MSP. Recently, several farmers' bodies demanded to legalize MSP. Legalizing MSP would put the government under a legal obligation to buy every grain of the crops for which MSPs are announced. MSP system was not backed by a parliamentary act and therefore, could never be legally enforced across India. Issues with legalizing MSP. Fiscal burden. Some estimates suggest that legalizing MSP will cost annually about 17 lakh crore for purchasing the 23 mandated crops. Demand for other crops. If the MSP is legalized, there will be a demand to include other crops, particularly fruits and vegetables. Storage. Inadequate storage for grains procured by the government at MSP leads to post-harvest losses. Selling. With stocks piling up, FCI will be forced to dump even more, and the price will get further depressed. Such sale of agri-produce, combined with the ban on purchase below the MSP directly from the farmers, will then close all avenues for sale by the farmers. 47 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. PM Devine will provide support to infrastructure and social development projects which may be larger in size and will also provide an end-to-end development solution instead of isolated projects. The average size of projects under other MDONR schemes is about 12 crore rupees only. NER District SDG Sustainable Development Goal Index Baseline Report 2021-22 report and its updates would increasingly be used for project identification and formulation under PM Devine. NITI Aayog and MDONR, in collaboration with UNDP, have prepared the NER District SDG Index. Importance of development of Northeast Region NER. Geostrategic location. NER shares borders with countries such as Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, Myanmar and Nepal, and also connects India to the robust Southeast Asian markets, making it conducive to international trade. Huge potential in agriculture trade, this is because of its suitable soil and other agroclimatic conditions. For example, the marketable surplus for pineapple 95%, jackfruit 83%, cabbage 74%, orange 85% etc. is high enough for exports. For success of Act East policy, without addressing the development-related challenges of NER, no trade deals involving value chains in the NER and the neighboring countries will yield desirable results. Unharnessed resource endowments, important natural resources like land, forest vegetation etc., which are essential for creating employment and generation of GDP in NER, are either underutilized, unutilized, and mismanaged. Presence of potent input market catalysts such as social capital diversity, cultural richness, physical potential, energy supply hubs, human inexpensive, skilled labor and natural minerals, forests resources. Challenges faced in development. Geopolitical factors, NER continues to suffer security concerns from the cross-border conflicts and other illegal activities. A military takeover in Myanmar and rising anti-India sentiments in Bangladesh further complicate the situation. Difficult terrain, almost 70% of the NER is hilly, with forests covering between 42 and 76% of the area of each of the states. This poses one of the greatest constraints to rapid economic development. Predominance of the informal economy, there is rampant narcotics trading, as well as other illegal activities like weaponry trading and trafficking of rare animals and poaching, leading to limited official border trade. Infrastructure bottlenecks, it is key to the disconnect between NER and the rest of the country. Poor infrastructure and lack of investment are mutually reinforcing and hamper economic development in the region. About Northeast region, NER comprises 8 states, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. Population of this region is over 45 million, which accounts for about 3.76% of India's total population. The region covers around 8% of India's total land area. It accounts for over a third of India's water resources and nearly 40% of the hydropower potential. 48 www. Vision years. In Copyright Vision IAS. Challenges with trade facilitation with neighboring countries, goods must be transloaded between vehicles of different countries, and the clearance processes are lengthy, which adds to the time and cost of transportation. Social unrest, because of armed insurgency, cross-border migration, movements that demand for separate federal states and autonomous units, and ethnic conflicts impede NER development. Socio-environmental dynamics, NER is also an ecologically sensitive zone, uninhabited by several ethnic communities. Land is intrinsically linked to culture, and thus makes it imperative to ensure that any development activity takes this into account. Way forward. Framework for development of the NER can be broadly based upon following vital components. Social empowerment, to empower rural communities, create sustainable institutions so that they manage common activities around microfinance, livelihoods and natural resource management. Economic empowerment, develop the capacity of rural communities to plan and manage funds for various economic initiatives and common activities for the public. Partnership development, partner with foreign investors, resource institutions and public and private sector organizations to bring resources such as finance, technology, and marketing into the project so that the community groups are able to improve their livelihoods. Subregional forums, more focused approach in subregional forums, such as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations ASEAN, and the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation BIMSTEC can play an important role in enhancing trade and connectivity between the NER and India's neighboring countries. A certain consent of people to implement policies, to ensure that economic development does not come at the expense of the environment or the social and cultural fabric of the region. Others, development of logistics hubs and corridors, ensuring interoperability of transport systems, improving trade facilitation, tapping the potential of low-cost inland waterways, expanding air connectivity etc. Initiatives taken for development of NER Northeast Special Infrastructure Development Scheme, to improve NER's infrastructure cover projects relating to connectivity, enhancing tourism and supply of water and power etc. Non-lapsable Central Pool of Resources NLCPR scheme to fill up the gap in infrastructure sector of NER through sanctioning the projects prioritized by the state governments. Northeast Venture Fund, first and only dedicated venture fund for NER, aims to promote business growth and skill development. NITI Forum for Northeast has been constituted for inclusive but sustainable economic growth in NER. Special Accelerated Road Development Program for Northeast. Infrastructure Development, Bogibeel Railcam Road Bridge on Brahmaputra River, New Greenfield Airport at Pakyong, Gangtok Ro-Ro service between Nimati Kamlabari, Majuli Island in Assam etc. Science and Technology Interventions in Northeast STINER to bring relevant technologies from S&T institutions to the farmers artisans of NER. 3 newly emerging corridors with neighboring countries, or trilateral highway linking India with Myanmar and Thailand. Kaladan multimodal corridor linking port of Sitwe in Myanmar to NER states. Bangladesh China India Myanmar economic corridor. 49 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. 3.13. News in Shorts. 3.13.1. Logistics ease across different states leads 2022 survey report. Ministry of Commerce and Industry recently released Logistics ease across different states leads 2022 survey report. LEADS is an indigenous data-driven index to assess logistics infrastructure, services, and human resources across all 36 states and UTs. It's a key tool to drive logistics sector efficiency that helps achieve target of bringing down logistics costs compared to global benchmark. It was first launched in 2018. Key highlights: LEADS 2022 adopted classification-based grading system while previous versions were based on ranking systems for all states. Refer infographic. 3 performance categories include achievers states, UTs achieving 90% or more percentage, fast movers achieving scores between 80% to 90%, aspires achieving scores below 80%, significance of LEADS indicator of efficiency of services that are necessary to boost trade competitiveness and economic growth. Brings to light key logistics related challenges. Offers recommendations to remove various bottlenecks. Guiding and bridging mechanism for identification of interventions enhancing logistics efficiency. Recommendations: states should draft their respective logistics policy in line with National Logistics Policy 2022. Develop grievance redressal system in line with ease of logistics logs portal. Identify and improve condition of intersection roads points. Establish dedicated land bank for logistics infrastructure. 3.13.2. India's green GDP. As per a recent RBI paper, green GDP is growing faster 6.27% and 6.61% in the 2000s and 2010s than traditional GDP 6.34% and 6.71%, respectively, as India took measures to cut carbon emissions, improve resource use efficiency and boost clean energy capacity. The trend had been opposite in past 3 decades of 20th century, implying growth in that period was more damaging to environment. 50 www. Visionaries. In Copyright Vision IAS. Green GDP considers estimates for environmental degradation, depletion of natural resources, and savings of resources and environment into the national income accounts. It involves subtraction of carbon emission cost, opportunity cost of waste generated, and adjusted savings of natural resource depletion from GDP. United Nations first proposed idea of green GDP in 1993. Advantages of measuring green GDP put emphasis on maintaining a balance between countries' growth aspirations and environmental protection. Helps to take holistic view, as traditional GDP calculation ignores cost of degradation of environment. Helps in policy engineering to ensure sustainable development. Related information, Environmental Kuznets curve EKC argues that in initial phases of economic development, there seems to be a positive relationship between pollution level and per capita income. India's attempts to measure green GDP. Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation initiated compilation of environmental accounting under Natural Capital Accounting and Valuation of Ecosystem Services NCAVES. NCAVES project was launched in 2017 by UN and European Union to enhance knowledge and accounting process for ecosystem accounting. Green Accounting for Indian States and Union Territories project GAISP to build a framework for environmentally adjusted national income accounts. Uttarakhand became first state in India to measure gross environment product for quantifying ecological growth measurement. 3.13.3. Doom loop. According to economists, Europe is headed for doom loop. About doom loop. Doom loop is the circle of vulnerability where a country's banking system can be severely hurt by volatility in the price of the sovereign bonds they hold for reserves, resulting in a contraction in lending provided by the banks. See image below. It is a phenomenon whereby a shock to one part of its economic system is amplified by its effect on another. 3.13.4 Standard Operating Procedure (SOP) for Interoperable Regulatory Sandbox (IORS). The SOP is prepared by the Inter-Regulatory Technical Group (IRTG) on FinTech, chaired by RBI's FinTech Department and representatives of SEBI, IRDAI, IFSCA, PFRDA and the central government. 51 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. It provides a framework to regulate newer fintech products and services falling in the ambit of more than one financial regulator. See image. IAS is a mechanism to facilitate testing of innovative hybrid financial products services falling within the regulatory ambit of more than one financial sector regulator. Key highlights of the framework or the dominant feature of the product will determine influence of the regulator and regulator under whose jurisdiction such feature will come. This regulator will be the principal regulator (PR) and others will be associate regulators (AR). The dominant position will be decided in two ways: type of enhancement to the existing products like loans, deposits, etc. Number of relaxations sought by the entity for undertaking the test under IAS. International Financial Services Centres Authority will be PR for Indian fintechs having global ambition and foreign fintechs seeking entry to India. IRTG on fintech will resolve any coordination issue between PR and AR etc. 3.13.5 Asset Reconstruction Companies (ARCs). RBI has amended regulatory framework for asset reconstruction companies (ARCs). It was based on recommendations of the committee headed by Sudarshan Sen to undertake comprehensive review of the working of ARCs. Key guidelines are: allowed ARCs with minimum net owned fund of 1,000 crore rupees to act as resolution applicants under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code (IBC 2016). Earlier, Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act (SARFAESI) Act prohibited ARCs from doing other activities than that of securitization or asset reconstruction, without RBI's permission. IBC provides for a time-bound process for resolving insolvency in companies and among individuals. Raised minimum capital requirement for setting up an ARC to 300 crore rupees from the existing 100 crore rupees in a phased manner. Changes in corporate governance norms, like to constitute an audit committee, which shall comprise of non-executive directors only. About ARC has been set up to provide a focused approach to non-performing assets resolution on recommendations of Narasimham Committee 2. It is a company registered under Section 3 of SARFAESI Act, 2002. It is regulated by RBI as a non-banking financial company. 3.13.6 Debts Recovery Tribunals (DRTS). GOVT recently formed exclusive benches at 3 Debts Recovery Tribunals (DRTs) to resolve cases above 100 crore rupees. Government has created these exclusive benches at DRTs in Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi. This has been done in view of a long-standing demand by banks to get more focus on high-value cases. Significance of this move: high-value cases are estimated to be numbering only 1%, but the amount-wise constitutes 80% of claims. Presently, lot of privately held companies in India are registered as partnerships of family concern. 52 www. Visioneers. In Copyright Vision IAS. These cannot be tried under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code (IBC) in the National Company Law Tribunal, which deals with companies only. Also, data from RBI show that DRTs had 2.25 lakh rupees crore of debt pending under litigation as of March 2021. About DRTs: the Recovery of Debts and Bankruptcy Act (RDB) Act 1993 provides for establishment of DRTs with original jurisdiction and Debts Recovery Appellate Tribunals (DRATs) with appellate jurisdiction. Objective of these tribunals is to provide expeditious adjudication and recovery of debts due to banks and financial institutions. It also hears cases filed under the Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest (SARFAESI) Act, 2002. At present, 39 DRTs and 5 DRATs are functioning across the country. 3.13.7 Daksh. RBI launched Advanced Supervisory Monitoring System (Daksh). Daksh is a web-based end-to-end workflow application that monitors compliance requirements in a more focused manner with the objective of further improving the compliance culture in supervised entities like banks, NBFCs, etc. The application will also enable seamless communication, inspection planning, execution, cyber incident reporting, and analysis, which enables anytime anywhere secure access. Daksh means efficient and competent, reflecting the underlying capabilities of the application. 3.1 3.8 Credit Guarantee Scheme for Startups CGSS. Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT recently notified establishment of Credit Guarantee Scheme for Startups CGSS. It aims to provide credit guarantees to loans extended by scheduled commercial banks, non-banking financial companies and Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) registered alternative investment funds AIFs to finance eligible startups. It was envisaged under Startup India Action Plan launched in 2016. Credit guarantee cover would be transaction-based and umbrella-based. In respect of transaction-based guarantee cover, the guarantee cover is obtained by the lending institutions on single eligible borrower basis. Umbrella-based guarantee cover will provide guarantee to venture debt funds registered under AIF regulations of SEBI. Scheme will be operated by National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company Limited. This scheme will complement the existing schemes under Startup India Initiative viz. Fund of Funds for Startups and Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. Other programs under Startup India, support for intellectual property protection, self-certification under labor and environmental laws, income tax exemption for 3 years, Startup India Hub etc. Related terms. Venture debt is a type of loan offered by banks and non-bank lenders that is designed specifically for early-stage, high-growth companies with venture capital backing. AIFs are privately pooled investment vehicles for investing in non-traditional asset classes such as infrastructure funds, private equity funds, venture capital funds, among others. They allow investors to diversify from conventional asset classes. 3.1 3.9 Northward shift in sugarcane production. According to the latest NSSO report, northern sugarcane producing states saw a 42% increase in their output value between 2011 and 2020 while that of southern states declined 32.4% during the same period. 53 www. Vision years. In Copyright Vision IAS. The NSSO report shows the cumulative production value of sugarcane in Bihar, Haryana, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, which increased from 30,216 crore rupees to 42,920 crore rupees. Meanwhile, the sugarcane output in the 5 southern states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra declined from 26,823 crore rupees to 18,119 crore rupees in the corresponding period. Reasons for northward shift in sugarcane production. State advisory priced sap higher sap over and above the fair and remunerative price FRP being offered in the north, especially by Uttar Pradesh. For example, the UP government pegged sugarcane sap at 340 rupees per quintal last year, whereas sugarcane farmers in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Maharashtra were only able to realize prices in the range of 280 rupees 310. Water management. The northward for example, the UP government pegged sugarcane sap at 340 rupees per quintal last year, whereas sugarcane farmers in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Maharashtra were only able to realize prices in the range of 280 rupees 310. Water management. The northward shift in sugarcane production is on account of larger irrigated area in the region. Sugarcane requires large amounts of water to cultivate, and frequent droughts in Maharashtra and Karnataka in recent years has led to widespread farm distress. Climate change, prolonged summer, erratic rainfall and shortening of winter season in southern states have drastically reduced sugar production from cane. Also, incidence of diseases like rust, leaf spots, poka bowing, leaf malformation, smut, presence of black or grey growth on the cane, etc. has also increased. Focus on other valuable crops, southern states are diverting their water to higher value crops. Other factors, this includes heat-tolerant sugarcane variety and improved farm management strategies. 3.1 3.10 Quality Council of India QCI. Recently, Quality Council of India QCI celebrated its Silver Jubilee. It is a non-profit organization registered under the Societies Registration Act 21 of 1860. It is an autonomous body. It was set up through a PPP model in 1997 by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry jointly with the Indian industry. It is under the administrative control of Department for Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade DPIIT. Indian industry is represented by the 3 premier industry associations IISOCHAM, Confederation of Indian Industry (CII) and FICCI. It aims to establish and operate national accreditation structure and promote quality through National Quality Campaign. It is governed by a council with equal representations of government, industry and consumers. A chairman of council is appointed by the Prime Minister on recommendation of the industry to the government. QCI has also launched a campaign Gunvatta Se Atmanirbharta, India's quality movement to celebrate India's quality hubs. Major achievements of QCI in various sectors. Healthcare and Laboratories launched PM Jan Arogya Yojana Quality Certification Program with National Health Authority for its empaneled hospitals across India. Accredited 87 food testing labs under integrated assessment with Export Inspection Council, APIDA and FSSAI. Education collaborations with Ministry of Education for quality intervention in the field of school education launched QCI's learning platform Quest, a quality platform for employability through skill and training, environment and cleanliness. QCI certifies ULBs as ODF Open Defecation Free, ODF Plus and ODF Plus to ensure the accessibility of clean and functional toilets to all its citizens. These categories are under Swachh Bharat mission. Ranks railway stations across India to monitor cleanliness and sanitation initiatives to fulfill the Ministry of Railways mission of Swachh Rail, Swachh Bharat. Economy. Third-party sampling and testing of 20% of coal produced in India by Coal India Limited. This has helped in standardizing the cost of coal mined in India based on its calorific value to non-power customers. 54 www. Vision Years. In Copyright Vision IAS. Conducted a 3-layer evaluation of the Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program in partnership with Ministry of Rural Development. Financial support provided to 332 MSMEs, including 43 MSMEs owned by women entrepreneurs under Zero Defect Zero Effect Z certification scheme. 3.13.11 Business 20B20 Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT hosted conference on B2O Indonesia Global Dialogue in partnership with Confederation of Indian Industry. About B20O formed in 2010, it is the official G20 dialogue forum with global business community. Aims to deliver concrete actionable policy recommendations on the priorities by each rotating presidency to spur economic growth and development. 3.13.12 Infrastructure status to data centers. The government has accorded infrastructure status to data centers with more than 5 megawatts capacity of IT load. Data center is included in harmonized master list of infrastructure subsectors. Data centers' capacity is measured in terms of power they consume, which reflects on scale of server they are hosting in their facilities. Earlier, it was announced in Budget Speech 2022-23. Significance of move helps data center companies to get easier access to institutional credit at lower rates, attract foreign investments etc. Also, in 2020, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has released draft data center policy. It aims to make India a global data center hub, promote investment in sector and facilitate state-of-art service delivery to citizens. Why focus on data centers? Presently, India has around 499 megawatts installed power capacity for data centers and is projected to grow to 1007 megawatts by 2023. Data localization norms make it crucial to set up a robust data center infrastructure in India. This is necessary to protect India's digital sovereignty in connected world. About data center, it is a dedicated secure space within a centralized location where computing and networking equipment is concentrated for purpose of collecting, storing, processing, distributing or allowing access to large amounts of data. It provides network infrastructure, connects servers etc. to end-user locations. Storage infrastructure to store data. And computing resources provide processing, memory, etc. that drive applications. 3.13.13 Codex Alimentarius US Commission CAC. Recently, the Codex Committee on Spices and Culinary Herbs CCSCH has finalized and recommended quality standards for nutmeg, saffron, chili peppers, and paprika and forwarded these proposed standards to the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The Codex Alimentarius is The Codex Committee on Spices and Culinary Herbs CCSCH has finalized and recommended quality standards for nutmeg, saffron, chili peppers, and paprika and forwarded these proposed standards to the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The Codex Alimentarius is international food standards, guidelines and codes of practice contribute to the safety, quality and fairness of this international food trade. These food standards, guidelines and codes helps on protecting consumer health and removing barriers to trade. Codex Alimentarius Commission (CAC) is the body responsible for all matters regarding the implementation of the Joint Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) and WHO Food Standards Program. Membership of the Commission is open to all member nations and associate members of FAO and WHO which are interested in international food standards. The Commission meets in regular session once a year, alternating between Geneva and Rome, and works in the 6 UN official languages. About CCSCHO: it is a committee under CAC to elaborate worldwide standards for spices and culinary herbs. India is the host country for Codex Committee on Spices and Culinary Herbs CCSCH. 3.13.14 Public-Private Partnership PPP route. Railway Ministry plans to bid out 16 stations under Public-Private Partnership PPP route. This is in addition to the 1253 railway stations that have been identified for development under the Adarsh Station Scheme. 55 www. Vision Years. In copyright Vision IAS. These railway stations will be upgraded to ensure improved basic facilities and accessibility for passengers. PPP refers to a cooperative agreement between the government organization and a private firm to execute a project or provide services to the local population for the long term. It encompasses several delivery models such as operation and maintenance, O&M, build, operate, transfer, bought, build, zone, operate, transfer, boot, design, finance, build, operate, transfer, etc. Benefits or help in recovering the project cost, as the present railway fare is highly cross-subsidization. Increase the competition and efficiency in the modernization of railway projects. Tackle the underperformance of the railway due to a lack of skilled workforce and other construction equipment. Challenges for PPP in railways: delay in land acquisition and multiple clearances and approvals from various regulatory bodies. Unviable tendering of PPP projects owing to lack of proper planning and unrealistic cost estimates. Ineffective dispute resolution or lack of standard PPP practices in line with global standards. 3.13.15 Commitment to reducing inequality. CRI Index. India ranked 123-161 for reducing inequality, improving by 6 places from previous ranking. The 2022 CRI Index looks at government policies and actions in 161 countries to fight inequality during the first 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. Index is prepared by Oxfam International in Development Finance. 3.13.16 Bharat Series BH. Recently, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways (MoRTH) has proposed to allow conversion of regular vehicle registrations into Bharat Series BH numbers. At present, only new vehicles can opt for BH Series mark. But with proposed amendment, regular registration mark can also be converted to BH Series subject to payment of requisite tax. Also, the transfer of vehicles with BH Series registration mark to other persons, who are eligible or ineligible for BH Series, has been facilitated. Ministry of Road Transport came with BH Series to ensure seamless transfer of vehicles across states and free vehicle owners from re-registration process when they shift from one state UT to another. Vehicle registration facility under Bharat Series BH Series is voluntary to defense personnel, employees of central and state government, PSUs, private sector companies having their offices in 4 or more states UTs. Working certificate is needed to be submitted by private sector employees to prevent misuse. 3.13.17 Aluminium wagons. Recently, Union Railway Minister flagged off the country's first freight train with an all-aluminium wagon rake. It is manufactured in collaboration with BESCO Limited Wagon Division and Aluminium Major Hindalco. As reported, Indian Railway is planning to deploy more than 1 lakh wagons in the coming years. At present, India's high-speed trains, including the Rajdhanis and the Shatabdis, use Link-Hoffmann Busch LHB coaches that are made of stainless steel. Significance: lower carbon footprint, due to its lower weight. It is estimated that for every 100 kg weight reduction of the wagon, the CO2 saving is 8 to 10 tons. Recyclable: aluminium trains are 100% recyclable. The recyclability will also help in times of global volatility in metal prices. Make Indian Railways logistics more efficient. Carry extra load: it can carry 180 tons extra payload per trip over conventional rakes. Reduce maintenance cost: being corrosion resistant, will reduce maintenance costs. Speed up production: aluminium trains take less time to manufacture and thus can help speed up capacity for production. Or reduce import. The iron and steel industry consume a lot of nickel and cadmium which are imported. So, proliferation of aluminum wagons will result in less import. Or boost domestic industry. This is good for the domestic aluminum industry. Though an all-aluminium passenger coach and wagon system would raise the cost of manufacturing rolling stocks by about 35% since the price of aluminium, globally, is far higher than that of steel. However, the advantages of the metal outscore its high price. 56 www. Vision years. In Copyright Vision IAS. 3.13.18. Postal Index Number OR PIN Code. Golden Jubilee of PIN Code was commemorated. PIN Postal Index Number Code, also known as zip code or area code, is the post office numbering code system used by India Post. It was first introduced on August 15, 1972. It is a 6 digits long code with each digit denoting a particular meaning. See image. Overall, India is divided into 9 postal regions zones with the first 8 as geographical regions and 9th being Indian Army. 57 www. Vision years. In Copyright Vision IAS. 4. Security.